Today we shall be focusing on more on some kind of file handling. In fact, we had seen a typical kind of text handling from a particular file when we were copying the contents of one file to another. And in fact, during that case, we had not only dealt with text files, we had dealt with a binary file as well. But you might have seen that that was a process of reading as well as the similar kind of writing. So we were reading the content and writing that. So during that binary file handling, we had skipped a lot of things which are very much needed in order to understand a binary file. So today we shall not only be focusing on that aspect of binary file, we shall be focusing on text files, we shall be focusing on how to pickle the contents, and we shall be discussing some kind of file which is a very special in today's scenario of web application development. And not only in web application development, in many of mobile application developments too, there is a very common format of file which is being utilized by developers all around, and that is called as JSON format. We shall be a little bit discussing about that, and we will be creating that kind of file also. इसके applications भी देखेंगे and how it is that much related with Python. So that is also a very interesting concept that we need to see. And I shall also take you a little bit further to a kind of graphical user interface creation. And आज के लेक्चर के बाद आपके पास बहुत कुछ होने वाला है करने के लिए, और बहुत सारा कुछ होगा आपके लिए queries भी. I shall be leaving you with a lot of questions in your mind, which you will be getting the answers through your own practical aspects, as well as in case you do not get in, then I'll be solving that. So आज बहुत काम करने वाला है आपके पास, तो आप बिल्कुल ready हो जाओ. What we are going to do is first see, and if I just remind you, we had just opened and created a file and read it out. And if you remember, we had read the file using character by character or byte by byte, right? So what we need to see is, can we do a little bit further with that read function? Because read was an all important function being utilized in reading the files, may it be a text or may it be binary file, right? Agreed. So let us work with the file. And we had seen the function like with open. Let us create a file first. And let us create a text file. Now you had seen what is the meaning of this with statement whenever we open. This is a Pythonic way of opening a file. Pythonic way, why Pythonic way? Because this way you need not worry about when to close the file when the operations are complete. So with this way of opening the file will be automatically closed when you will end up all the operations, right? So this will create a block, and within this block, whatsoever operations you will be doing, and your file will be opened. And when you come out of this block of with statement, your file will be automatically closed. And as you had seen, I have not given any mode to this particular file. So in case there is no mode specified, it is, you know that it is by default read mode. So let us create it first. So I want to create it using W mode, which is equivalent to WT or TW, whatever it is. So I just want to write f.write. Let us see something very unusual. This is, and then I write f.write demo for file handling, right? So once I do this, so your file will be termed as opened and created, and your file will be termed as closed also after writing this content into this file. And now that, let us open this file also. Now, if you open this file, now, so there are three options. One, so can I read this particular file character by character, or can I read the whole content in one case? So what if I do it, like if I say text is equal to f dot read. If you do it, let me just write it like, and just print the file. Let us check out what it does. So you see that once I create this file, after that, when I open this file using this single read, your whole text has been read. So this read, if you do not supply any argument to read. So if you remember in the last example, what we had done is we had written f.read1. So in that case, we were reading one byte or one character. But this way, what we are doing is we are reading the whole content. So if you do f.read once only, so the whole kind of text stored within that file will be read in, and that text would be there with you. So you can process anything with that. And one more important thing, if you had observed that you had written this using two sentences. So once you wrote this is, and then you wrote a demo for file handling. So you might be thinking about why I had done it. So I could have done this in a single write. So why I chose to write this content using two lines. So I just wanted to show that in case you are writing this in two lines, still you can feel that there is not a line break within the sentence. So can I put a line break right here after this line? So if you do it, so just see what happens. So if you do this, you see this, when it just reads this whole text, so automatically this end of line is observed but not printed as. So this is one of the way when you can write the content in different lines. So when your text is placed in different number of lines, you can have one another option. Another option of using read as read line. So once you do this, text is equal to read line and print text. So see what happens. So if you do this, you'll see that only one line has been read, not the second one. So in order to read the second line, you will have to do f.readline again, right? So as you saw, so once we were reading the whole content character by character, this time you will have to read the file line by line using f.readline. So there is another option also, that is your read lines. f.readlines, if you do, what happens? You see that it just returns a list of all the lines. This time, what text is? Your text is actually containing all the strings, means all the different lines of the text stored within that particular file in terms of a list. So now that once you are having a list with you, you can do all operations, right? So you can do like this, as you just iterate over the text, iterate over that list, you can do like this. For I in text, you know that the text is right now a list. So you can just check out also. Print type of text. And once you do this, so what will happen right now? You know that this is what is the output. So the type of text is a list. And once you are printing, what this is doing, this is printing all the lines within that list one by one. So there are actually, what would I say, 4 options while you are reading the content of a text. Number 1, f.read. So once you do f.read, the whole text is read in one chunk. Then you are having another option, you can do it one by one. So that is f.read 1. Then you are having the option of reading the content line by line, f.read line. Then all the lines read in one chunk, that is conversion of the text into different number of lines and stored within a list. You might question, like, can I read the content 3 by 3? So there is a read function that doesn't only take one. You can take three also. You can take two also, two characters at one time, three characters at one time, like this. So if you do this, in that case, this will not be working out. So you can print the text like this. You will see that first three characters will be read. So if you read the file content by content, so that is your choice how you are reading, right? So this is these are basically three demonstrations. So let me write it so that it may remind you. This is a read option. Then there is a read one option. Then in fact, it is not read one, it is read n option. So n number of characters. Then there is read line, and then read lines. So these are functions which you may utilize while you are working with text files. And you can read as well as you can write also. So now let us move to an example of, like, I want to create a file. Okay? I am just creating a file. Just see it very carefully what I'm doing is. So now that I want to read, I want to write the content, right? And the content is what? The content is numeric. Now, if it is numeric, if the content is numeric, so what I can do? So let us do this. So let me just do the same thing again. And if I just do what? My file is my text file.txt. I'm opening in W mode, means text file I'm grading. And what I'm writing is, I want to write numeric. And now the file is closed. Once it is done, I'm reading the content, right? And just checking out what is being read. And I'm reading the content all around. So can I do this? So previously my content was str in the form of a string. And now that my content is that I'm writing is numeric, is an integer. So what will happen? So once the file is closed, now that after that, I'm reading the file, I'm opening it in reading mode, I'm reading that. Let us see what it does. So now that you will see that the right argument must be str, not int. This is one thing that we need to understand. So in case your type of file that you are creating is a text file, that we have declared that your file is a text file, then all the content that you will be expected to store should be in the form of a string, right? So you cannot store either int, either float, or either any other kind of an object in a text file until or unless it is converted into string. So how you can convert them into a string? So you can try to use str function over everything. Not only this, so you can do this. So now that the content that you have stored is a string, and you have, once you have actually read that content, the content has been read as a string only. Now, can you just do it with a float? So if you want to store a float, you are converting that into a string, and then you are writing. And you can see that this is the content you just got is a string. So now, can you do a float operation over that? Now, text is supposed to be float. So can I do it like this, 2.5? Can I multiply the float with 2.5? You will see that cannot multiply sequence by non-int of type float. Why? Because this text that it has actually read, this is supposed that this is your string. So this is not exactly an integer or a float. If you just check the type of text, you will see that it is a string. Still it is a string, right? Even if it is 12.25, and it is just printing you, it is still a float. So if you want a float back, you will have to convert it accordingly. Now that you can expect ये जो float आया है, आप इसके ऊपर कोई भी float operation कर सकते. This is how you can expect to store integers or floats into a text file. So rule number 2, that anytime you need to store any other type of value into a text file, your destination is a text file right now. Even if you just check this file, you just can open it in a notepad and you can see the content. Right? Let me just show you my text file.txt. So where it is, must be stored somewhere. There's my text file. Where is this? Just locate this. This is my text file.txt. If you just open it, you will see that here's the content that is stored within that. So I'll just store that. You may see it as a float, but exactly it is not. It is a string, right? So you might have understood what I'm trying to say. Now the thing is working on a binary file. So once we see that we are having an integer and we want to store it in a file, the one option that you have seen just that you can convert that into a string and you can store it back. Another way is that can't I store that integer into a binary file straight away? If you remember, once I was discussing about the difference between a text and binary file, so I was with this particular concept that I was discussing, that in case I store an integer, that integer is stored as a string in a text file, but the integer is stored in its direct binary form into a binary file. So the difference you will just see here, that this particular content that you have seen within that text file, now that I'll be storing the same content 12.25 into a binary file, right? So once it is stored in a binary file, you will see that it is not converted into a string, while it will be converted into its equivalent binary. So how you will be converting that into its equivalent binary? So may it be a float or may it be an integer. So once you decide that that content is going to be stored in a binary file, so you need to encode the content. So this encoding is a very important topic. So इसको हम discuss करेंगे हम आने वाले lectures में भी और भी. So this encoding is what basically? Encoding is the way of creating a binary file, any type of a binary file. So even if you just created, like you might have gone across into Paint and might have created an image of JPEG type. You might have created an image of PNG type. So once you are creating a JPEG file, so JPEG has its own way of handling your integers, your text, your pixels. So how it encodes the different type of data in order to be stored, that depends of the encoding that is being used by JPEG. And not only JPEG, every kind of binary file has its own type of encoding that it is used. So encoding is the method of converting a data into its equivalent binary so that it could be stored into a binary file. So how a kind of data is stored into binary, converted into binary, that depends upon the encoding. मैं दोबारा से रिपीट कर रहा हूं, एनकोडिंग हम बेसिकली बोलते हैं कि जब हमारे पास किसी भी पीस ऑफ डाटा, कोई भी पीस ऑफ डाटा आप सोच सकते हैं, आप इंटीजर है, आपका फ्लोट है, आपका स्ट्रिंग भी है इवन, और आपके पास कुछ डिफरेंट जापानीज कैरेक्टर्स हैं, स्ट्रिंग में भी आपके पास कुछ जापानीज कैरेक्टर्स हैं, कुछ इमोजेस हैं, और जब आप इनको सोचते हैं कि इसको हम किसी फाइल में स्टोर करें, so you need to specify the encoding scheme. And there are a lot of encoding schemes. I say a lot of encoding schemes being used in order to convert the data first and then in order to be stored into binary. तो मैं जब हम Python में काम करते हैं, तो Python में हम एक default encoding scheme है जिसको नाम बोलते हैं हम UTF-8. So that is your default encoding scheme. How you can get it? In fact, you can just check it. That is that in order to check, you will have to import the sys module, and you can just check it out. You can say sys dot get default encoding. If you just print it, it will just give you the UTF-8. UTF-8 means it is unified transformation format. It is unified transformation format. Unicode rather. It's Unicode transformation format. So there are like UTF-8, there are UTF-16, there are UTF-32, and not only this, there are other Unicode transformation formats are also there which are being used. In fact, ASCII is also a very basic type of character transformation format that is being used. This UTF के बारे में हम और बात करेंगे. 8 means your 8 bits, 16 means your 16 bits. So once you get a character and you need to convert that into a binary, if you are choosing 8 bits to represent that, that will be called as a UTF-8 format. So more about UTF we'll be discussing about. And but right now, what I'm going to tell you, I need to convert. I'll be choosing an example of this float, how you just can encode this into its Unicode transformation format 8, and then you just store it into binary. कैसे करते हैं इसको देखते हैं. So now that we'll be creating a binary file. So let us create that with another name. Open my bin file, and sorry, let us not give it as txt extension, so that you may not be just confused with whether it is a text or binary. Otherwise, you can give it as a text format also, txt extension also, because I told you that extensions are just to convey the message. Just changing the extension of a file does not change its format. Let's open that, and then what I'll do, suppose I am having a content as a float. So what I'll do, suppose my data is suppose D, and I want to store 12.25. I want to store D into. So what I'll do, I will have to convert that into its equivalent binary. So how do you get that? So there is a function encode, but that belongs to string. So what you will do, you will have to use f.write, and you will have to convert that into string first, and then call the encode method. And in fact, आप यहाँ पर भी कर सकते थे, but आपने यहाँ पर किया. So what you did conversion of float into a string, and then calling its encode method, and then just write it. So once you do it, this file is supposed to be closed. So once you do, now that, as you said, my bin file.dat, what you are doing is you are doing a write operation. And what mode is there? It is a read mode. That's why it is saying no such file or directory. So that means you will have to just open the file in the write binary mode. So many of times you may write it like BW also. It also works. And W plus B also works in. So in any way you can just write it. W plus B, BW or WB, another way it will work. Just run that. You will see that this file has been just created. So let us now open this file and just check it, what is stored in that. Now that I will be opening in a read binary mode and just see what it returns. So if I just check it, data is equal to f.read, using the simple read function, and just print what it has stored in that. So if you just read the content, we need to see out what it returns. So I have stored a float, and once you store, you have stored it as encoded form. And once you actually taking it back, we need to check out what is it returning. So So let's check it out. And you'll see that it has returned a string. And what B represent, it's a byte string it has returned. So this is a representation. It's just a representation. It's not like it is giving you a binary form. It is giving you a byte string. So this is a string, and then B specifies it's a binary string. And then if you need a float back, you need to just convert that. Just convert that data here, and you will be getting a float back. So as you did it in the last case, you just converted that float into its string. And once you got it back, you got it back in the form of a string, and then you convert that into float back. Similarly here, the only difference is that you are just converting that float into a string, and not only string, you are encoding that. So now that this encoding says that you are converting that float into its equivalent byte array. So this data might be enclosing a single byte, 2 byte, or 3 byte, or 4 byte. This actually encodes the whole data into its equivalent byte array. And that whole byte array is being stored. And once you read that particular byte array and just converted that into float, and you got your result back. This is just a little bit difference. ये छोटा सा एग्जाम्पल था आपको बताने के लिए कि कैसे टेक्स्ट और फाइल, बाइनरी फाइल डिफर करती है. ये अगर इंटीजर भी होता, मैंने पर्पसली फ्लोट लिया है, आप ये एक्सपेरिमेंट इंटीजर के साथ भी कर सकते, राइट? एंड दिस वे यू कैन जस्ट डू इट. मैं आपको बाइनरी फाइल के कुछ और ऑपरेशंस भी बताऊंगा, बट बिफोर दैट आई वांट टू जस्ट फोकस अपॉन द कंटेंट. मैं आपके ऊपर ये कुछ ट्राई करने के लिए छोड़कर जा रहा हूँ. यहाँ पर आपने क्या करना है, आपने यू नीड नॉट टू स्टोर ओनली वन फ्लोट. आपने मल्टीपल फ्लोट्स स्टोर करने हैं, आपने मल्टीपल इंटीजर्स स्टोर करने हैं, एंड जस्ट सी कैन यू रिकवर ऑल द इंटीजर्स बैक. And one more experiment that you need to do is you can store all the integers into the form of a list. You create a list of all the integers and try to take all the integers from that list, store it back into the binary file, और फिर उसको रिकवर करने की ट्राई करो. ऐसा एक एक्सपेरिमेंट आपने ट्राई करने के लिए करना है. एंड देन आपने एक एक्सपेरिमेंट ऐसा भी करना है कि आपने इंटीजर और फ्लोट को मिक्स करके भी स्टोर करना है एंड ट्राई टू रिकवर देम बैक, राइट? सो ये एक्सपेरिमेंट आप करेंगे, and we'll see the result of, and we shall discuss the results of these experiments. I know the difficulties that you'll be facing in, and मैं चाहता हूँ कि उस इंट्री केसेस को आप खुद देखें, और कल मैं जब शुरू करूंगा लेक्चर तो मैं इसी इंट्री केसेस के साथ शुरू करूंगा. Now that I'm working upon pickling. Pickling means what? I told you one sentence in the last lecture that you are not expected to store only primitive pieces of data like simple characters or single floats. We are also expected to store objects, and we had seen there are different kind of objects which we can use in Python, and one of the objects I told you that was a dictionary. And while we are having a dictionary, can we store that dictionary into that whole dictionary into a file? Because dictionary is an object, and why I'm focusing more on dictionary. And somebody from you, in fact, I don't remember the name exactly, I'm sorry, but somebody asked me like, what is the application of dictionary? So dictionary have very much advantages. In fact, you will see that it is more or less related with your JSON format also. So I'll be using dictionary to create an application. और ये जो मैं एप्लीकेशन आज मैं बना रहा हूँ, मैं आज जब आपको एक GUI बताऊंगा तो आपसे यही एप्लीकेशन जो मैं अभी यहाँ बना रहा हूँ, यही एप्लीकेशन का मैं एक ग्राफिक यूजर इंटरफेस आपसे एक्सपेक्ट करूंगा. Not tomorrow, but I'll expect that you'll be able to create that in coming days. और देखते हैं सिंपल सा एक एक्सपेरिमेंट. What I want to do is, suppose I'm having 3 to 4 students like you, and I want to store the information about students into a file, right? So I want to store, just like, think like I want to store all of you people into this particular file. And you know that you have more than 1,000. And if I need to store more than 1,000 students' records into the file, my whole purpose would be like, I give the roll number, you'll be giving me the result. आप मैं रोल नंबर इनपुट करूं, आप मुझे उसका नाम दें, मुझे उसका एड्रेस दें, मुझे उसका मोबाइल नंबर दें. I should be able to retrieve the information back. So how can I do that? So मैं एक छोटा एक्सपेरिमेंट करूंगा, आप इसको एक बड़े एक्सपेरिमेंट से आप इसको रिप्लेस करेंगे. So what I'll try to do is, मैं पहले एक छोटा सा इनपुट प्रोग्राम बना लेता हूँ. तो हमें क्या क्या करना है वो देख लेते हैं. तो मुझे नेम इनपुट करना है आपसे. So I want to input name. आप इसे थोड़ा सा बड़ा कर लेंगे. मैं पूरा फॉर्मेटेड एप्लीकेशन तो नहीं बना पाऊंगा, but I'll be giving you all kind of logic. So what I'm doing is I'm just storing roll number, and let's say I store percentage. And I convert this roll number into integer, and convert this percentage into float. We'll get 3 pieces of data: name in string format, roll number in integer, and percentage in float format. So once I do it, I need to store this data back in a file, right? I don't only will stop here. So I will continue asking you to input more names. So if I say more, and what I'll do, इसको हम एक लूप में इनपुट कर लेते हैं. And ये लूप कब तक चलेगा? While I'll say while more is not equal to no. जब तक ये more में पूछेगा you want to input more, I'll say no. So once I say n, it will stop, right? So in order to use this while condition, I will have to initialize more. So I'll initialize more with y. So what I'll do is, अगर ये input करते जाते हैं, पहले मैं आपको इतने program दिखा लेता हूँ. I'll say this all, and then I'll say it is asking for name. So suppose I'm giving a name, asking for roll number, I'm giving you the roll number, then it is asking for the percentage, and it's asking more. I'll say yes. It's ask for name again, and I give the name again, give the roll number again, percentage again, and more. I'll say no, it will stop. So what I'll do is, इस पूरे एप्लीकेशन को ये जो मेरे पास जो नेम, रोल नंबर, परसेंटेज आता जा रहा है, what I want to do is I want to store them into a dictionary format. So what I'll do in order to create my dictionary. So this dictionary would be like this. This is an empty dictionary. So once I input all, हम क्या कर सकते हैं? Dictionary में इन सबको store कर देंगे. So D of name would be, I'll say key is your name. So I'll have to input. This is the way to store this information. Then I'll store your roll number. This is your roll number. This is your percentage. And once this dictionary is complete, right? So let me show you. Let me just print it also so that you may actually see how it looks like. So it asks for name. I'll say Amit. The roll number, I say 1. Percentage, I'll say 70. It asks for. See this. Say this way, I want to just create. So once you input all the 3 values, it has created a dictionary. So this dictionary is basically representing one record, isn't it? It is representing one record of a student. And if you have more pieces of data that you want to store, like address or subjects or anything, so you can do it like this, and it will be storing all pieces of data about Amit. So this single dictionary will represent single student. So what I want to do is, so once it is asking for more, so I'll say yes. I'll say, once I'll say yes, so it will be asking you another Amit, roll number and percentage. So it will be storing another one into this. So what it will doing, it will replace करता हुआ चला जाएगा. बिकॉज अगर मैंने यस कर दिया, दोबारा से इनपुट करेगा और मैं दोबारा से की वैल्यू पर सेम वेरिएबल से रिप्लेस करूंगा तो ये सिंगल वैल्यू को रिप्लेस कर देगा, ठीक है, तो वो मुझे नहीं करना है, बट आई ट्राई टू। अब मैं एक और डिक्शनरी बनाता हूँ, सी दिस एंड यू विल सी व्हाई आई एम डूइंग इट। दिस इज योर स्टूडेंट डिक्शनरी, मेजर डिक्शनरी आई एम सेइंग। सो व्हाट आई डू, इस डिक्शनरी को जो अभी मैंने प्रिंट किया है, तो ये मैं यहाँ पर इस डिक्शनरी में, डिक्शनरी को भी मैं एक डिक्शनरी में स्टोर करूंगा। व्हाट दैट डिक्शनरी वुड बी, डिक्शनरी के लिए मैं एक वेरिएबल ले लेता हूँ आईडी, और मैं हर बार मूव करने के बाद क्या करेंगे, उस आईडी को इंक्रीमेंट कर देंगे। और मैं यहाँ पर लिखता हूँ स्टूडेंट डिक्शनरी, एंड इसको भी मैं, इस आईडी को भी मैं स्ट्रिंग में लेके I'll store this D into. See why I'm doing it. I'm doing it what? I'm creating a dictionary D first. You had seen how it looks like. उस डिक्शनरी को मैं स्टोर कर रहा हूँ एक और डिक्शनरी में, making a key, not std, it is str, making a key as id. So मेरा जो पहला स्टूडेंट होगा उसकी की होगी 1, अगली बार जब आईडी की वैल्यू 2 हो जाएगी तो अगला स्टूडेंट 2 पर आएगा, और वो जो की होगी वो स्ट्रिंग होगी। मैंने आपको याद कराया था that it is not mandatory, but try to. Many of the functions, they will be actually expecting that your dictionary's key values are arranged in string format. So try to use keys as strings always. Otherwise, ऐसा नहीं है कि वो integer नहीं लेता, integer भी ले लेता, but try to use it because many times it will be giving you an error in many of the operations. That's why purposely मैंने इस तरह से लिया, ठीक है। तो इसको हम एक बार चलाते हैं और बाद में हम आपको इसको आउटपुट को प्रिंट भी करा के दिखा देता हूँ। सो हाउ इट विल लुक लाइक। सो इट इज आस्किंग फॉर नेम, लेट मी इनपुट अमित अगेन, रोल नंबर इज 1, परसेंटेज इज सपोज 80, आस्किंग फॉर मोर। तो अभी क्या हुआ, अभी एक गलती है इसमें, ठीक है, वो क्या है अभी आप देखेंगे। इज आस्किंग फॉर another name, I'll say Anil, then I'll say roll number, I say 2, percentage is suppose 87, I'll say, अब आप देखेंगे इसने उसी डिक्शनरी को रिप्लेस कर दिया विद न्यू वैल्यूज के साथ। तो प्रीवियस डिक्शनरी जो थी वो बेसिकली तो मैंने स्टोर कर दी है, ठीक है। अब ये दूसरी डिक्शनरी भी इसके अंदर स्टोर होगी, कैसे स्टोर होगी तो देखते हैं। मैं करता हूँ नो, एंड यू विल सी दैट से strdict, oh its name was stu, let me just print it because it has been created. So I can create it in another way. I can just print you. As you can see, this is giving you the structure of the dictionary like this. So your student dictionary is looking like its key is 1, and when ID is 1, so this is representing Anil. When ID is 2, it is representing Anil. You see it. So now that your dictionary is actually containing multiple records, and this way, isn't it that you will be actually be able to right now organize records in a way, and this way of creating a dictionary will show you that dictionary does not only store key value pairs. It actually can be utilized very powerfully so that your lot of records can be stored into this dictionary format. And previously you were storing only one record, and now that you can store multiple records within this. And this type of a dictionary is basically the foundation for creating JSON files. ये JSON फाइल क्या है बेसिकली, इसको हम फुल फॉर्म में पढ़ते हैं, जावा स्क्रिप्ट ऑब्जेक्ट notation. This is a very, very, very important type of a file that you will be able to create. So once you are able to see, आप जब आप लेक्चर एंड करेंगे तो आज आप गूगल भी करेंगे JSON फाइल्स को, और आप JSON फाइल आप गूगल पे लिखेंगे JSON फाइल फॉर्मेट, So it will be showing you, and you'll be surprised to see that the format of a JSON file resembles the Python dictionary. And there is nothing which is related with JSON with Python. ने नाम से ही देखा है, JSON is basically based upon JavaScript. And if you see the format of JSON file, you will see that it is based upon Python dictionary. So in case if there is a Python programmer like you, those can very well understand a JSON file better than all other programmers. So you may be a Java programmer or C or C++ programmer. Once you see this JSON file, you may not be directly related with, but अगर आप Python programmer हैं और आपको dictionary पता है, so then you can very well understand what this JSON is all about. So what I have done till now is I have been able to create a dictionary of the records. ठीक है? अब हम क्या करते हैं? अभी हम क्या करेंगे? अभी मैं एक फाइल बनाऊंगा, ठीक है? और फाइल कैसी बनाऊंगा? फाइल मेरी होगी with open student.dat, and I'll be creating it rather in WB mode. And what I'll do is I'll just say indent it, and once I indent that, and I'll come back. I need to store this whole dictionary, this stu dictionary, basically into what? Into this student.dat file. तो कैसे करना है हमें ये आपने देखना है. हम क्या करेंगे इसी फाइल के अंदर, हम क्या करेंगे, हमें इसे पिकल करना. So I told you, pickling is a process of storing objects into a file. और मैंने इस प्रोसेस का नाम भी दिया था शायद आपको. If you remember, somebody remembers? What is the name of the process when you store objects into a file? Anybody? Yes, good Jagreet, good Pratham, you remember that. It is called as serialization. So good you remember that. So what basically is, you need to serialize that. So in order to serialize an object, you need to pickle that. So pickling is an option. Pickling is just one option that you can do while you can choose an object and directly store that. So how you will be able to store this stu dictionary into that? So you will do, we'll have to actually import that pickle module, PICKLE. And once you are having this, you will see what you will, once this program will end, you need to just pickle dot dump. You need to dump what? You need to dump stu.dictionary, and where you want to dump it, you want to dump it in the file, what is represented as F. So once you do it, your file will be ready. So once you do this, I should feel that student.dat is created with this much of record into that. So इसको हम एक बार फिर run कर लेते हैं. So you need to run that, right? And even you need not run that again. अभी हमारे पास ये बना हुआ है, तो आप क्या कर सकते हैं? आप सीधा पिकल कर सकते हैं, ठीक है? आप इसको सीधा पिकल कर सकते हैं. प्रोग्राम में तो आपको ऊपर लिखना पड़ेगा, बट अगर आप सेपरेटली कर रहे हैं तो आप ऐसा कर सकते हैं. ये बना हुआ है हमारे पास. अभी एफ भी नहीं बना था इनफैक्ट, तो लेट्स डू इट. दोबारा से कर लेते हैं. वापस से चलाते हैं. नेम पूछता है अमित, रोल नंबर इज 1, percentage is 80, more I say yes. Is asking for Anil, roll number is 2, percentage is 90, more I say yes. Name Jesh, roll number is 3, percentage is suppose 79, and press enter. More I say no. So once you do, oh, I just forgot to indent this. Actually, I have done it while this file has been closed. Can you just see this error? It's saying write to a closed file. So what I have done, I have come out of this block. So मैंने आपको बताया था जब with statement लिखते हैं, with statement के block से बाहर आते ही आपकी file close हो जाती है. So you cannot do this. So आपको इसे indent करना पड़ेगा. So this is, you will have to do it. So once you will close the file, once you will pickle, so before you just the pickle, the file must be open. While it is done, you just do it. Okay? So फिर से करना पड़ेगा. Amit 180 is Amel 290 Moses Ramit roll number 3 and it's 58 and process no, and you see that the file has been created. Student.dat is done, and you can just observe this file here. Where it is this? This is student.dat, and if I open it, if I open this, right click it, you will see what is written. See what is done. Something it is saying error. It is not UTF-8 encoded saving disabled. So did I do something wrong before I pickle it? So just do what? Just see the program, and we'll see this whether we have done something wrong in that or not. So what I'll do, I will open this file within this Python. I'll just see whether there is something wrong which we have done. And once we just open this file, what I'll say, I'll just try to retrieve it from pickle file. So how I can just pickle.load, and you can just open the file in binary mode, same file, and pickle. This is called as, this loading is called as unpickling. So once you are dumping the content, dumping the object into a file, it was called as serialization. Now that what you are trying to do is you are deserializing. This is the deserialization that you are doing. That means you are reading the file and reading the objects from that. So you'll see that, are you able to do this operation? So once you do this and get this content in which form it is, we'll see that. We'll also see that whether we are able to do that or not. So once you do this, you'll see that this is whole content has been retrieved back. The whole content has been retrieved. So anything that you have stored, once I showed you this file, I show you this file again, you are not able to see the content that we have just stored. What you have done is you have just encoded the file. You have encoded the content which have been stored, and this data has been printed in its binary, not only binary, in the dictionary format, in the same way as you have just stored. So you need not worry about how you are storing it. In fact, let me just show you this file. Let us see. It is if I just observe this file, you'll see how many bytes it is. It is containing 98 bytes. And if you try to just type it, because this is not a text file, it will not be showing you the, you will see that the content is in its binary format. So this is basically a binary file. You cannot type it with this way. And this file is actually existing, and the file can be utilized to be read in order to retrieve all the records that you have just stored. So once, what we can do is, I can create a GUI interface. मैंने तो ये simple सा एक program बनाया था, which is just able to do what? Which is actually asking you to input roll number, percentage, and names, and it is trying to recover that and storing the data back into some format, जो बहुत जरूरी है हमारे लिए, because if we are creating a project, and every kind of a project requires a database at the back end. ये दो words बहुत कॉमनली यूज किए जाते हैं हमारी एप्लीकेशन डेवलपमेंट में, डेटाबेस. डेटाबेस इज व्हाट सिंपल फॉर्मेट, इट इज अ कलेक्शन ऑफ रिकॉर्ड्स. सो अभी ये जो मैंने डिक्शनरी बनाई है, दिस डिक्शनरी इज बेसिकली a small type of database for you, right? I can call it as a database also, because the records are being organized in a fashion. Every record is having a key value pair, right? And आप डिक्शनरी में, आपको मालूम है जो आईडी मैं यूज कर रहा हूँ, ये आईडी कभी भी यूनिक से चेंज नहीं की जा सकती, ये यूनिक ही रहेगा. और आप इस कभी भी डिक्शनरी के किसी भी आईडी से आप डाटा निकालना चाहेंगे तो आपको वापस मिल जाएगा. सो इफ यू वांट टू चेक इन, अभी ये डाटा है आपके पास, राइट? आपके पास डाटा है और मैं सपोज मानता हूँ इस सेकंड ई का, इस सेकंड का रोल नंबर क्या है, तो आप कैसे दे सकते हैं? आप इसे ऐसा नहीं दे सकते हैं. डेटा, ठीक है, और टू, इसका क्या चाहिए आपको? इसका आपको सपोज रोल नंबर चाहिए. सो कैन यू डू दिस? सी, this file has been actually opened somewhere. Maybe let us just stop this kernel. Okay, not to have a problem, you can just retrieve this. You can just retrieve the pieces of data that which are being basically stored in, right? So this is one way of utilizing a pickle file while it is storing that data into an object format and retrieving the objects back. This is a serialization. Right, tomorrow I'll also show you how to use shelf. In fact, this word is also important, and this is basically related with shell. This is also a module which is basically used to serialize an objects and deserialize also. And we shall see the similarity and the difference between pickling. So shelf is also important, and we shall see it later on too. So now, with all these things, I want to take you further. मैंने एक छोटा सा एक एप्लीकेशन बनाया, ठीक है, और वो एप्लीकेशन क्या है मैं अभी आपको दिखा रहा हूँ. इट्स अ GUI काइंड ऑफ ए फॉर्मेट, एंड यू विल सी दैट. मैं आपको उससे पहले मैं एक एप्लीकेशन दिखाना चाहता हूँ. ये सबने देखा हुआ है, इट्स ए नोटपैड. सो वंस यू ओपन ए नोटपैड, व्हाट दिस नोटपैड of Windows specifies, this gives you the facility of writing a text in different lines, right? Now, if you treat this whole, what this notepad is doing is, ये आपको एक scrolled kind of area दे रहा है जहां पर आप एक text लिख पा रहे हैं, ठीक है? और आप जब आप text लिख लेंगे तो ये आपसे पूछता है save. So once you want to save this, you can do what? You can give it a file name and it will just store that file somewhere in the form of a text. Because this is a text file, right? You can open it, you can store it. And isn't it like ये similar application है जैसा अभी हम file handling से बना रहे हैं? So can we have our own notepad in which we can write certain content into the form which can be stored into a file? So I have tried to just create a simulated way of, अभी इसको पूरा करेंगे. मैं आपको एक छोटा सा प्रोग्राम बना रहा हूँ, as simple as it is, and I'm showing you this kind of an application. See how much small it is. This is a simple editor that has been created. So if I just run it, we'll see how it looks like. So this is a Kinter application basically. If you remember, यहाँ पर लिखा हुआ है tkinter. So this actually is pronounced as Kinter. So Kinter is a library which we can basically utilize to create graphic user interface applications. So अभी हम दोनों मॉड्यूल्स को, जो हमारे फाइल मॉड्यूल्स हैं और हमारे GUI मॉड्यूल्स हैं, इन दोनों को कंबाइन करके हम एक एप्लीकेशन बना रहे हैं. तो अभी हम फाइल हैंडलिंग को GUI से मैच करेंगे और एक एप्लीकेशन क्रिएट करेंगे. I think this kernel has been busy somewhere. Yeah, this is the application that it has just returned back. This is a Kinter application which has been created. So this Kinter application has one text box right here. You can specify a file name here, or you can open any file name, right? And it will show you the content. And it is showing you, it is also allowing you to type the text. And once you are ended with, it will show that it is also a scrolled kind of a text box. And you can write the text somewhere. And if you specify the file, suppose I say my first GUI dot txt. If you just save it, you say that the content might have been saved. ठीक है, तो आप देखेंगे इसे मैं बंद कर रहा हूं अभी और फिर से मैं एप्लीकेशन में जाता हूं. If you just see whether this file is there or not, so it is my first GUI.txt. It has been created, and you will see that some content has been, might be the file has not been saved. So it should have been saved basically. It has saved as a 0-byte file, but let me show you the application. Let us see whether we are just done with that or not. So what we have done, see the error is there. It is saying contents, name contents, where it is. It is basically the text. There's some error. There was some error in the code basically. My दोबारा बना लेते हैं इसको. My first GUI.txt. The previous file will be overwritten. So if you just type the content and just save it. फिर से कुछ गलती हो गया हमारा. Text की spelling फिर से गलत हो गई. Just save it and just run that. So any file name you give, my first GUI.txt. इस एप्लीकेशन को अभी मैं आपको दिखाऊंगा. आप सभी इसकी एक पिक ले लेंगे. कल इसको हम डिटेल में बनाएंगे. और इसके अभी तो मैंने सिंपल कंपोनेंट लिए हैं. टेक्स्ट फाइल लिया है, राइट? और द फाइल हैज बीन क्रिएटेड. So let us see what is there. My first GUI. See, this content has been saved. So ऐसा एक एप्लीकेशन बनाना है. What it is doing, ये बहुत सिंपल सा काम कर रहा है. देखा, सेव बटन पर मैंने I have created 2 buttons. I started with this one. I created a Tinker application. So this is Kinter application. I've just created by creating an instance. फिर मैंने उसका एक टाइटल नेम दिया. फिर मैंने एक टेक्स्ट बॉक्स बनाया using the inbuilt class which is called text. Then I packed it. Packing is basically utilized for creating a layout. इसको भी डिटेल में नहीं जाना. मैं I'm just giving you a hint. आप कंफ्यूज नहीं होना. मैं just एक सिंपल सा आपको एप्लीकेशन बता रहा हूँ. How it is so much simple. So I created a text box. I just packed it onto the GUI. Then मैंने एक text box बनाया जहां पर मैंने file name का entry लिया. उसको भी मैंने pack कर दिया. Then I created 2 buttons, open and save. I also just created them and packed them as such. फिर आप देख रहे हैं इस बटन पर हमने लिखा है command is equal to load. इस बटन पर लिखा है command is equal to save. So that means once you click upon open button, the load function will be called. Once you click upon save button, your save function will be called. So what the save function is, I have opened a file in W mode और content मैंने write कर दिया. So आप देख रहे हैं मैंने content कहाँ से write किया? इसने text से content लिया है. This is the command get that is used to get the content from text. So content लिया और add up करते चले गए. So this is a simple kind of a thing. इसको आप एक बार देख लीजिए. इसको आप चाहते हैं तो आप इसको नोट भी कर सकते हैं. Once you will note it or just get a pic of it, try to just write it onto your editors and try to see it. ये मैंने आपको एक GUI का एक फाइल हैंडलिंग का एक अपर हाई लेवल ऑब्जेक्टिव बताया. एंड नॉट ओनली दिस सिंपल नोटपैड एप्लीकेशन, हम इसमें इस एप्लीकेशन को जो हमने बनाया है इसको मेन्यू ड्रिवन एप्लीकेशन भी बना सकते हैं. एंड ऑल अदर फैसिलिटीज व्हिच नोटपैड इज नॉट गिविंग अस, वो भी इसके अंदर हम पुट कर सकते हैं. सो वी शैल सी इट टुमारो आल्सो. टुडे आई विल हैव टू लीव. I will not be able to take your questions right now, and but definitely I'll be taking it tomorrow. So thank you very much. and God bless you. Please excuse me today for not taking your questions right now because in emergency I have to just leave. Thank you very much. God bless you too much. You take good care of yourself. Bye.